So we're focusing on how to level up faster for both your operator and your weapon within Black Ops 7. It just dropped. You can see on Prestige 1, level 36, which is kind of pretty high. And I got a little bit of experience from playing each of the various modes. So I'll go ahead and kind of talk through some of the pros and cons of each of these and what you can kind of expect in terms of operator and weapon level. So if you're coming from Warzone and want to just level up for that, or you have a particular interest to know kind of where you should focus your time in the game. So we'll go ahead and start off with the co-op campaign, since it's the first time you can actually get XP within the campaign. So one of the cons with the campaign is that you have to actually beat the 11 missions to get access to the end game. The good thing is that you get XP along the entire way across the various missions. And then once you get into the end game, you can farm tons of XP for both your weapon and your operator. And how I kind of realized this is I played this right off the start. We were kind of speed running through the missions. It took us about 3 hours to kind of go through the base campaign, and then we were in the end game. And I kind of looked over my friends list, some of the streamers that I saw streaming live for the entire time, and I was higher level than most of them, or right around the level. We were kind of tied. So that's kind of good, especially since majority of them are playing multiplayer. The downside, some other downsides, which I'll probably cover in more of an in-depth review, is I don't think this is really good content. I don't think this is a lot of fun. I think the end game lacks a ton of depth. It doesn't look like it's fully finished. There's not a lot to do in there. And I think it's really janky. The AI is not particularly good. But if you just want to grind levels mindlessly, the end game is perfectly fine for that. I just wouldn't really spend a ton of time in there unless you just want the camos and to level up. Just a general overview that will apply to each of the modes is that doing challenges is the other way to get XP within various modes. Normally, if you're doing it with the guns, you're going to get tons of camo XP. You can prestige, carry that on, you get more leveling and more rewards, all good. You could also track particular ones that you're mostly interested in, so you can kind of spec into that type of XP if you're trying to do hit master prestige or something like that. You're going to focus on the individual camos and the calling cards. And this is where you can get a ton of XP. And you can see for these various ones, if you actually focus on these specific ones, then you're going to get tons of XP that way. Whether it's in the end game, the Dark Ops challenges. I got a Dark Ops challenges. I didn't even see that. All right, cool. So you kind of have that particular setup, and that's how you want to gain out your XP. Keeping in mind that this XP that you get from these calling cards and camos does not apply to your weapon. Basically, your weapon kills are what's going to maximize that. And they've increased the rate at which you gain XP, or they reduce the amount of XP you need per weapon by about 25%. So it's significantly faster, especially if you're using some double XP tokens. Keeping in mind that once you hit level 55, if you're not going to prestige, you don't need this first column anymore. And then the second column for the weapon one, that one's you're going to focus on the ones that you care about leveling pretty quickly and that you can min-max. And in some instances, there might be certain weapons that will suck at the low levels. So maybe you start off in zombies, you go to co-op campaign, you level them a little bit. So you get like 10, 15 attachments in like 40 minutes or something like that. And then you can go into multiplayer and have this thing leveled up. Or, you know, if you're planning for Warzone, you can kind of level it up that way. And that's kind of how the campaign will work. Pretty straightforward. Like I said, not a lot of depth. I don't think a lot of people are going to be loving this campaign. But like I said, I'll cover that more in an in-depth review. Multiplayer. Ideally, you want to stick to smaller maps. When the voting comes up, pick a smaller map. That's going to get you in more engagements faster. That's typically why Shipment, Nuketown, those types of things end up being a little bit more faster paced. And then playing in a party could be good too, because then you're on the winning team. You get those match bonus. You're able to get a little bit more consistent. If you have a UAV up, then you can see where they're at. You can kind of control spawns. There's a lot of things with that, but this one goes back to your skill level. And in terms of modes, kill confirmed, grabbing a ton of tags has always been good, and generally just playing the objective. But smaller maps is going to be the way to go. Get in a match, finish the match, get out of the match. But if you're not particularly good at multiplayer, even if you're good at Rebirth or Warzone in general, or Plunder or whatever, then maybe multiplayer isn't the way to go. And zombies is going to be one of the fastest, especially the way they've sped things up in the early rounds. With the Rampage Inducer, it's a little bit more user-friendly. If you're unfamiliar with this mechanic, you interact with it, it makes the zombies spawn a little bit faster for the first 20 rounds. And then after that, it gets a little bit more hectic if you want to keep it on. So a lot of times you could just do round 1 to 20, kind of get used to that, or 4 to 20, then turn it off and then make sure you're comfortable. And as you get more comfortable, you kind of go through it. But this is great for leveling weapons, great for leveling with XP, and the camos this time around, at least to get the gold camos, they take like 45 minutes to an hour for a lot of them. So it's a pretty straightforward grind if you want to go with that. And just like the campaign, this has tons of the challenges and tons of the other things that you can unlock. And that doesn't even like jump into the Dead Ops arcade, which is a whole other mode that I haven't had a chance to touch. There's so much to play. And that one could be a little bit more streamlined mode if you just kind of want to mess around and go with that route. I think those are great options as well. But overall, they've done a better job on lowering the threshold of XP required for these guns. So you should be a lot more comfortable going in there, getting leveled, and making sure that you're maxed. If you found the video helpful, hit the like button. If you want to find your way back, make sure you subscribe. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.